Hello team and welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map today. It is a 4-person free-for-all between Metal PHP in blue, Cryptospirinium in red, Refo in orange, and Birdie in teal. Metal PHP is spawning on the left-hand side, Crypto's in the bottom, Birdie is in the top right, and Refo is on the far right. So big island map, everyone's spawning on a different island. Probably going to be a lot of build up to this game, and we'd probably expect to see Birdie get into a little bit of a tussle with Refo, and Crypto getting a little bit of a tussle with Metal PHP. Metal PHP is going to expand to the north of the map, so potentially away from Crypto at this point. Airport for blue, 2 docks, and a first refinery on the way. Crypto's got 2 industry, a town with a port, airport, and 2 docks as well, so relatively strong eco start from Red, who's building a transport boat, cruiser destroyer out of these docks in the top right. Refo's got 1 dock, sending troops across to cap this bottom right island, which actually has a trade route as part of it, so let's see if Orange can get that set up pretty quick. And then 2 docks, 2 towns, and a industry for Birdie, so a lot of navy from 3 of the players, and Refo has the 1 dock here. And just slowly building up this game. Metal PHP is getting to the north. There's 2 gases on this northern island, which will be really nice for blue. Also some gas in the water here. A lot of transport boats from blue and bombers out of this airport. It's transport jets out of Crypto's airport with this barracks going for commandos. And we run these free-for-all casts on 2 times speed because it's free-for-all. It's a wonderful game mode, very hectic. 4th industry now for Red, who's going for more transport planes out of this airport. Birdie's getting to one of the central islands with 2 cruisers already built and a refinery on the way now. There's actually a 3rd town built already for Birdie. There are 3 trade routes here. I guess rather it's 2. It's these 2 towns and ports will connect. And then it would be these 2 towns and ports that would also connect for Birdie. Birdie's building this town to get this going. Slowly starting to build the infrastructure required for those trade routes. Refo's got 2 destroyers out, capping this water territory. And now 2 power plants with 2 depots to start storing all of this energy. Orange doesn't really have a refinery close to them on this side of the map. The closest would be in this top right position, but Birdie's going to cap that first. And still no fighting yet. Crypto's capping all the bottom left territory in the water, switching to bombers out of this airport, and has made their way to the central island, going for commando drops instead of these transport boats to start expanding on all these different islands. Transport boat on the bottom actually going to land on Orange's landmass. There's only going to be 1 SAM here for Orange. I guess a bunch of infantry is going to perfectly time this to intercept this landing. And we can see in the middle island, finally the first fights of the game between red, teal, and blue. These 2 red infantry are in for a very tough LZ. And Refo's going to shut this down while expanding to this other central island. If we go like top down, it's really just 2 main central islands and this 1 single territory island in the middle. So very interesting game start to this 4-person free-for-all. And the Navy's moving out for Refo. All these destroyers starting to build this town in the bottom, potentially going to go for another town pretty soon to get this trade route set up. Birdie in the top has the first 3 ports on the way, 2 of which are connected to like a trade route. 4th port now, so Birdie's going to have 2 different trade routes up relatively quick. That's going to be a lot of eco for teal. And blue and red getting into it. 5 commandos against this much infantry. The infantry will likely win this because they are grouped up quite nicely. All these commandos would be exposed. Blue and red having a little bit of energy problems. That's why we see those black plumes of smoke. on the planes and the boats. A little bit of a navy tussle here between blue and red. And very slowly, Rifo's moving these, like a lot of destroyers out across the map. And seems to have enough energy to be doing this. 3 strikers are done for orange on this airport. And more destroyers on the way. There's a 3rd dock now for Birdie by these towns and ports. And a good garrison of cruisers in the top right for Birdie to protect this one gas, which will be very difficult for anyone to take out. The only real thing that could happen is these planes for orange, but there's no way they could reach up here. There'd have to be an airstrip built on this island or an aircraft carrier at some point. A little bit more of a standoff between blue and red in the water there. And Crypto's trying to build some infrastructure on this central island, which could be a lot of control for whoever takes this. And of course there are some trade routes, some towns and ports that could be built. Probably relatively even on the eco between the different players, with a little bit of an advantage for teal because of those trade routes. Potentially going to be a little bit of a fight here. There's a good amount of cruisers for red, but the red is out of energy, so these units are going to be taking extra damage. Every time they hit that black smoke, for the next 5 seconds, they take 50% more damage. Bombers on the way for blue to help out here. Blue likely will take that naval battle. Factory and barracks is now set up on the central island for Crypto. And here comes a landing attempt from Birdie on Rifo's main base. It is 2 transport boats. So going to be like a non-trivial amount of infantry that show up. The second transport boat only has 2 infantry. So it's going to be 6 infantry total that land. The transport boats will likely not get out of here because the 3 destroyers and the missile boat are on top of the boats at this point. But here comes Birdie's navy. There are 4 missile boats as part of this teal navy, so they can deal with all those strikers. And it's a great number of cruisers for teal here. So certainly going to be able to destroy orange's navy and probably get one of the docks. And you can see that Birdie's now landing on where Rifo actually started the game. We'll be able to destroy the barracks and likely the other dock as well. Teal going for a city on one of these trade route ends. And Crypto's starting to drop some commandos on Metal PHP's island. There's not really a lot to defend this. Besides the bombers and the strikers are going to be big to take on these commandos, because without the planes, 4 commandos would definitely be able to destroy this many blue infantry. So Red's rebuilt the navy and stabilized here. And likely will not lose this dock. A good amount of SAMs for Red that take out that striker. Birdie destroys both of the docks for Rifo, who's rebuilding a dock down here. Still no trade route yet for Orange, but a good amount of energy. One of the power plants gets sniped by Birdie. This is a pretty hectic game. Red's taking control of this central island. The merchant ships are cranking at this point for Birdie. Every time they land, or anytime they pull into a port, they drop off a bunch of money for Teal. And submarines for Red to defend this refinery with the sub pen in the back. This is a pretty good spot. Blue probably could get around the bottom here, but still that red sub pen's at a very decent spot. Very secretive. Commando drop on the depot. Great play from Red, who's also pushing on Blue's docks. The cruisers are on the north side of the island. And this is a lot of stuff for Red. And the big potential problem here is that Red's going to be able to destroy this refinery as well after taking out that depot. Blue still has 2 other refineries, so not the end of the world. It's not like Blue's going to be totally out of energy. And Birdie really using this navy advantage to start shelling the coast on both of these islands. Actually destroys this airport that Rifo had been setting up. And more transport boats for more landings. There's a lot of infrastructure on Birdie's main island. We can see this standing army slowly getting moved across. And in general, not really looking all that good for Orange in the bottom right. On the other side of the map, Red does destroy this refinery, heading towards this other refinery on the island. It's still a boat advantage for Red, and there's enough missile boats here that it's kind of tough for Blue to do much, especially because these planes are actually out of gas. They can't launch even if they wanted to. 3 more Blue cruisers are haste moving in to defend against these boats. Once they arrive, they will be able to actually destroy this Red Navy. And we hear another dock for Blue go down. Blue also making a launch pad here, which is definitely in range of all of Red's main base. We'll see where this rocket gets used and if these Red SAMs can destroy it before it lands. Birdie gets another power plant. This is leaving Orange without any energy. And I don't really know whose submarine this is, unless there was a sub-pen that Orange built that Birdie destroyed, pardon me, destroyed, but only after this one sub got out. Bomber's working on what is going to be Rifo's kind of like replacement base, because Teal is landing here. There's not really much to defend. There's one factory building artillery pieces that can buy some time. But if there's more reinforcements for Teal, Orange is going to be in trouble in the bottom right. Great play by these submarines that somehow get in here, destroy the port part of me, which will stop this trade route from going. It's kind of difficult to tell whose subs those are, but the only person who has a submarine pen is Crypto in the bottom, as far as I can tell. Rocket is a third of the way done for Blue. And now Teal moves this Navy out after dealing with those submarines. And because of these mountains, Rifo might hang on for a little bit. 8 more infantry showing up for Teal to land on Orange's landmass in the bottom right. A rocket is done for Crypto in the center of the map. It's far enough away from the coast that I don't believe a cruiser could actually hit this. Potentially if a cruiser pulled up to this point in the water, it would be within range, but potentially out of range. So good placement from Red. Blue on this side of the map destroys Red's Navy again. The bombers for Red, there's no missile boats for Blue, so the bombers will be relatively effective and at least prevent these cruisers from just pulling up to the docks and killing them immediately. Rocket for Blue is nearly done. This rocket got launched, and I don't know where it went. I don't see that anything got destroyed either. More docks from Blue. Losing a few strikers to this many SAMs in the mountains. Great spot for these SAMs. Still remains to be seen if this rocket is going to get shut down. And Teal is starting to land on Crypto's center island. It's going to take a lot of units. I mean, there's a dig-in line from Red. A good amount of SAMs. The good thing for Teal is that the time it'll take for these transport boats to get here isn't actually that long. This isn't as long as a transit to get to the bottom right. But in general, Birdie doing a great job to blockade Orange. A few bombers kind of trying to get in and do some stuff. They get around the SAMs, but on the way home, certainly they're going to get shot down. And here comes the rocket from Blue. Likely heading right towards Red's main base. And it is. Full dot of SAMs can't really stop it. The airport doesn't go down. One of the refineries does. Crypto rebuilds it immediately. And we'll see if this Teal Navy can defend this landing spot long enough to get enough units down. By this point, Birdie probably sees that this rocket exists, and that exactly is what's happened. So kind of scary situation when a rocket here landing in the center of all these docks would be able to destroy like 4 buildings probably, maybe even more. SAMs work on it, but it's not going to be enough. Never mind these SAMs in the forest. Shoot it down. That's tough for red. And potentially what happened the first time with the rocket, because I definitely missed that. Blue is rebuilding their rocket. It's a third of the way done. And it does look like this launch pad can get attacked in this spot from these cruisers. It's enough cruisers that red's not going to be able to keep this launch pad up much longer. Cemented by the fact that teal's going to get a lot of reinforcements landed, and it will include some SAMs. Birdie certainly at this point has the largest economy out of any of the players, and if we take a top-down look, this is the map. This is the game state at the moment. Blue has a lot of territory, but it's these trade routes that teal has, rather, that's giving so much economy. Birdie will find Crypto's subpen on this central island and destroy it. And we'll expect to see teal take this central island relatively quickly here with this constant stream of reinforcements. And Crypto rebuilds the subpen in the south, which is probably a good move. Rifo's rebuilding some of that industry that was lost. But here comes the transport boats that are going to start landing again. It's going to be a tough spot to land if teal decides to land right here with all these dug-in infantry and artillery. Town snipe from Birdie. Blue's navy is going to push up against the docks. We'll see if 3 bombers is going to be enough to be able to fend off these blue boats if the red planes get launched that way. In general, missile boat pops, which will help out a little bit. The bombers are actually heading to the north, so Crypto's going to lose both of those docks, and we'll also lose this gas off the coast. Here comes Birdie with the navy. Let's try to pull up alongside the coast so that these units can land. It'll be interesting to see if teal can actually pull this off, because they're landing right in a defensive line. And it also makes it tough because these transport boats are derping a little bit when they try to land these units. There's 3 artillery pieces now for teal. And teal is going to be able to land. This is going to happen. Rifo's going to have to defend again. There's now 2 factories for orange, which might be able to send out, like, get enough artillery out to deal with this. It's such a narrow island, so teal's navy can really be effective here, especially these cruisers, which can go toe-to-toe against the dug-in artillery on the coastline. Rocket for blue is done at this point, the second one. And Birdie's setting up this middle refinery with a huge navy. It is 4 docks for blue. And Metal decides to take out that navy and the refinery, which is probably just a minor setback for Birdie. Birdie's got 4 power plants on this island. That kind of helps with the energy question. And good defense from Rifo in the bottom right, with the dug-in artillery right beside this town. But still so much navy from Birdie, who won't let another run-by happen. This is a full dot of destroyers. So there's no way that submarines are going to be able to run by and start destroying more of those docks and ports. Clearly, Birdie wants to take this refinery in the center of the map Quite a large navy moving there now. And another town and trade route, and rather town and port, which will create another trade route for Birdie, who also is sitting on 2 full airports of helicopters, which over time could get moved to the central island and then start striking Red's base, sort of Blue's base. This is probably at the very edge of the range of helicopters to get over to Blue. And Refo and Orange, certainly with the least amount of territory. And this is a very scary landing from Teal. With now 8 transport boats or whatever, moving all these units across. Great idea from Orange to dig in here in the mountains and delay this. And luckily for Orange, Crypto's trying to send some transport planes around to start backstabbing Birdie. But between all these SAMs and a few missile boats in the water, both the transport boats got destroyed in transit. It's a entirely cruiser navy for Teal here. Against all these planes, here comes the 5 missile boats for Teal to try to take on the planes. And the helicopters were transferred into the central island. And with the help of the helicopters, Birdie's going to be able to defend this, but take another rocket. And luckily for Birdie, the refinery stays alive here. The defensive line for Refo paying off. Pretty much stops this Teal push. But Birdie's just deciding to attack this island instead. And what a game. Another rocket from Metal is on the way. It is on the stand, getting constructed. Still some bombers and strikers on these airports with an aircraft carrier on the way and 2 subpens in the top left. And Orange will move out in the bottom right island and try to reclaim this lost territory. By this point, Birdie has the 5 trade routes up. Or however many this is. Sometimes I can't count them. But either way, Teal definitely with the biggest economy in the game at this point. And the rocket for Blue, 2/3 of the way done. Birdie's starting to cap this water territory in the top left. There is an airport with some strikers for Blue here, which will destroy this town and port. Helicopters versus bombers, you don't often see this, but there's so many helicopters that the bombers, some of them probably won't get out of here. And I lied, they all got out of there. And the strikers were able to destroy the port in the north for Birdie, so it stops this town and port from turning into a trade route. So Blue denies that. Gonna have a little bit of a problem dealing with this Teal Navy. Rocket used on the Navy. Pretty good hit. Well, actually, I guess most of the cruisers survived, but it might be just enough for Blue to attack here. Certainly lost that refinery, and there's no real way that could have been saved. Refo has reclaimed this bottom right island while also losing one of the central islands. And Orange sees these 2 subpens and will be able to destroy them. Destroyers are great against submarines in a straight up fight. Crypto definitely going to lose both of those subpens, and good move from Birdie to track down the rest of these red submarines. There's only going to be 2 left on the map. I mean, there's probably more somewhere. They're just very sneaky. And great commando drop from Crypto. Birdie gives up immediately on building all of these barracks. And the commandos are going to be able to destroy all those power plants. Blue using the strikers to destroy the town in the north for Birdie. And in return, Birdie is going to destroy one of the airports, which does have some bombers on it. We'll see if these planes have anywhere to land. Since the airport they took off from no longer exists, this is so many helicopters for Teal. The DPS, very impressive when they're hovering over these targets. They completely wiped Blue's Navy. Good amount of boats for Birdie in the north that are going to try to take on this dock. But Metal does have another rocket ready. We'll see where Teal decides to send this thing. If the rocket doesn't go here, which it doesn't, then that dock will be lost. But destroys most of this Navy. And top-down look, Teal taking over most of the map, taking a fight in the bottom right against Rifo's remaining Navy. There's just one dock left for Orange. Full airport of transport planes with commandos for Red in the bottom. And there's no other launch pads. By this point, it'll be tough for Blue to have the economy to build another rocket. Just based on how much territory they have. 3 full airports of bombers for Red. But I think at this point, it's really a question of whether the players can beat Birdie. Birdie is certainly the player to beat in this free-for-all. And still using all of these boats to just abuse how narrow this island is, destroying all of this infrastructure from the coast. Not entirely sure how Birdie was able to do it, but defends these power plants from being destroyed. I suppose it was just 2 commandos for Red that ended up landing. Navy for Birdie going around the bottom will certainly be able to destroy this dock at this point. There's no artillery dug in along the coast. And even if there was, this is a lot of Teal boats. Metal's got another rocket on the way by this point. Birdie building more refineries in the water. And garrisoning some boats to defend them. And this probably makes the most sense. So there's 2 aircraft carriers for Metal in the north that will house all of these strikers, even if this airport goes down. And we can see that Birdie is deciding to start landing on this island, which is kind of important because it'll allow Birdie to set up this town and port to get another trade route. This is 3 airports worth of bombers going out for Red. There's not a ton of missile boats here for Teal. In fact, there's no missile boats here. And the helicopters aren't quite close enough to defend against those bombers. But again, probably just a minor setback at this point for Teal, who's pushing in the north, will destroy at least one of the aircraft carriers. Maybe even the second one. Very interesting geography on this map that this is actually a path that these boats can go through. Very cute, this little channel. Or whatever the geographic name for this would be. And Teal's going to be able to destroy this airport and take this northern island. Helicopters now, there's a ton of them. They're going to take on 2 full dots of SAMs. Unfortunately for the helicopters, they focused on the artillery for the first little bit. And all the helicopters are taken out as the bombers go out. It's just like 3 missile boats. The bombers might be able to destroy some of the boats before getting shot down. Maybe even the refinery. Here comes another rocket that Metal sends at this refinery for Birdie, who's going to retake this territory immediately while also destroying Blue's gas in the north. Not yet beginning to work on this town and port that Blue sniped earlier. And to make matters worse for Rifo, Red Commando's now landing on the southern part of the island. And it looks like Teal wants to start landing here again and will land right into 4 Duggan artillery. There are 3 cruisers pretty close that could get involved. and start shelling those land units to prepare for that landing. Another aircraft carrier for blue. And red is out of the game. Red resigns. Now, the best thing that could possibly happen for blue is that they get across here and start capping all this territory, but I have a feeling that Birdie might be the first to do so. The beep we hear is just red disconnecting from the game. Wonderfully rhythmic. And no more red commandos, right? Because Crypto left the game, so that allows Refo to kind of focus on the north. But big picture-wise, it's kind of tough. A tough situation for Orange to be in. We can actually check the economies now. So it's 2141 for teal, 530 for blue, and 394 for orange. Rocket goes towards the town, it will be able to destroy it. And the port. But it wasn't really hooked up to this northern town and port anyway. So not an enormous deal. One of the cruisers is within range of the airport. And at this point for blue, it's just a matter of whether another rocket gets launched. Huge landing for Birdie, who has enough transport boats now that the reinforcement pace here is likely enough to take on Orange. Teal boats are looping around. We'll be able to destroy the dock, including this aircraft carrier. Missile boat is ramming it at the moment. And actually, these blue submarines are doing okay, but now that all these teal destroyers show up, they're gonna get destroyed pretty quick. Metal's down in the bottom with an aircraft carrier at this point just to mess around a little bit. And certainly for Orange, if these strikers attack the infrastructure, it's just very difficult. A super difficult situation. There's no SAMs here for Orange. Overwhelming number of teal units landing. And we can see this is a lot of teal. A lot of teal territories. And clearly, as we checked the economy a little bit earlier, what a play. This is the play to make in a free-for-all. Is blue just going renegade with this aircraft carrier. But a lot of boats from teal shut it down. Refo's time is numbered. Blue is out of the game. And now Birdie can just focus everything down to this bottom right island. While also ecoing up in the rest of the map. That's metal disconnecting from the game, and that's it. And we're just gonna assume that orange left there at the end. And we'll check on the graphs. Because those trade routes for teal certainly were a huge deal. Income-wise, just a spike from the beginning. Well played. All. Very good game. Free for all. Wonderful game mode. And thank you to Birdie, I believe, who posted this in the match replays section of the Discord. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you have a wonderful night, day, evening, whatever it is. If you want to check out some gameplay, I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SodaQuackers. Every Monday and Wednesday. You can check the schedule on Twitch for the exact times. Maybe see you there. Thank you for the support. Good luck on ladder. Peace.